Hi, this is Catherine, and welcome back to Taking Tea with Catherine. Today I'm drinking watermelon lime zinger from Celestial Seasonings, which is a bit out of season for winter time, but I don't know, sometimes I'm a little contrary like that. And sometimes my opinions are a little bit contrary, but I try not to do that on purpose, you know what I mean? But I'm drinking this on purpose, because he just sneezed in derision. That's what cats do. So this is my December 2019 wrap up. I'm not going to talk about all the books I read in December because I already did. I don't know. First week I talked about the books I read. That was about 4 of them, and I talked about the mysteries. Yeah. So I've actually covered most of the books I read. So I don't want to go crazy and talk about them again, unless you guys like repetition. But he likes repetition. He's a cat. I'm sorry. I'm very distracted by my cat today. Cats are very distracting. In a good way. But, I finished a total of 6 books in December. So I think that leaves me with 1 book here that I've completed that I haven't mentioned yet. And that is Raven Master by Christopher Scaife. Scoff. I scoff at my bad pronunciation. So he's, not just his name, but Yeoman Warder of Her Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress, the Tower of London. That is his complete name. That's fantastic. But, you can see why I would have taken this out. It's a combination of, I like reading about birds a lot, and, other animals, and I like reading about London, so, and history. So Tower of London is a big part of history. It's a glare on here. I really like this book. I gave it 4 stars. I wouldn't give it 5 because it wasn't like, I can't live without this book. It's a library book. I'm going to return to the library perfectly happy with it that way. But it made me more curious again about the Ravens in the Tower. One of those Christopher Fowler books, I think I mentioned this before maybe, the Peculiar Crimes Unit that don't think I've actually reviewed a book here about from that series, but whatever. In the future I will. I think there was one, recent one that I read that had to do with the ravens going missing in the tower. So I know they went to see the Raven Master, and I don't know if it was him. I've been trying to look for the book just so I could check and see if it was. But it might have been, because the timing seems to work out. But if not, either way. He was in the military, so he writes a little bit about that and how it affected his training and how it affects his job. But he got this great opportunity, I think it was in 2005-ish, to work at the Tower of London as the yeoman warder. Yeah. And eventually he became the Raven Master. And that's just basically what you imagine it to be, the people who take care of and look after the ravens of the tower. And I never really thought about it too much for some reason. I kind of thought there were just some ravens that were around and that they lure them over for purposes of, that whole mythology about if the ravens leave the tower, then Britain goes down or something. But he does discuss that myth a little bit and where it may have come from and where it may not have come from. I think any of these, anybody who works at the tower, especially anyone who takes people on tours of the tower, must have so many great stories, whether they're apocryphal or real or somewhere in between. I've never done a particular actual tour of the tower. I've been around the tower and taken pictures and, stood there and thought about all the people who were executed there. It's a little creepy. But I love English history so much that even the sad bits kind of make me, think a lot. But yeah, and I think I was drinking coffee when I was thinking of that. So it wasn't a taking tea with Catherine moment quite. It's been many years since I went right by the tower. I still think it's one of my favorite looking buildings because they've been putting up so many, big, tall things. And of course the views are great. I've been inside the Shard and it has great views, but there's nothing like the tower, even if it's being a little bit, dwarfed as it were. Is that correct to say that? But yeah, I learned a lot about ravens this way, and in a sense, they remind me, even though foxes attack ravens and stuff. I've got a hole in my sweater. You know what? This is just a cozy evening in. they remind me of foxes, ravens, because birds of prey, animals of prey, they do a lot of similar things. A lot of times they eat similar things, and they're both in London, so you know. So yes, I know much more about ravens. Some bits that I may not have wanted to know about, some of the things that they eat. The But I still quite enjoy this, and I think you guys, if you're into any of the things that I said previously, you'll like this. And it's not a long book, so even if you were not like enthralled for some reason, you could. It doesn't take long to read. And he has an Instagram, by the way. He has an Instagram, so follow it if you want to. So that's the only one I actually finished. I'm gonna mention something that I finished kind of over like. Actually, I finished it on the 1st of January, so I'm already in January talking about this. But I started in December. But I'm not going to count it as a book that I read, because I read a lot of these, speaking of Instagram, on Instagram. But if you haven't been familiar with this book, I would just recommend it also. Well, it's a book. Strange Planet by Nathan W. Pyle. It's just a bunch of cartoons and stuff discussing normal things in human life, but in a kind of almost alien, well, basically alien way, describing things, and it is hilarious. The funny thing is, it's the one thing that almost everybody who has seen it and sees me says, oh, you have to see this. Like, I haven't seen it yet. But everybody looks at it and thinks that I'll like it. And you know what? They're right. It's very funny, and the humor is just ironic almost, but not not sarcastic so much, but just funny. I kind of want to buy this book, but not now. So I just had to mention that. So the rest of the books I'm going to mention, I am still reading, basically. And I knew that was going to happen. I was hoping it wouldn't. I was kind of hoping that I'd finish all the books that I started by the end of December, because it's so completist, to just finish it all and start fresh in January. But I knew, for instance, Dombey and Son, I wasn't going to finish because I didn't intend to. My sister and I intend to go about up until the spring. I am making progress, though. I'm making slow progress. This is not a negative comment on the book. It's just a long book, and it's a little, not detailed, but it just, sometimes Dickens takes me a little while, especially when I'm reading a ton of other books at the same time. But so far, I do still think that it's one of the books that I am enjoying. So that's good. It is engaging, although there's, as always with Dickens, there's always parts that I'm like, okay, this is a slow bit. And I think I'm in a slightly slow bit right now, but still not complaining. Same thing with this is what I'm reading in tandem with this continually, and also along with anything I'm reading that's Victorian in January. So How to Be a Victorian, A Dawn to Dusk Guide to Vegetarian Life. Victorian Life by Ruth Goodman. Again, slow as you go, but I am learning so much about it. I don't know, it puts you there, because I knew there were some things about Victorian life, that I was familiar with, but some of it, it's just the little details that you just never really wrap your head around. So I am now, and I also watched a little bit of Victorian Farm, which the writer Ruth Goodman is in, complete with Victorian outfit. And it's fantastic so far, and yes, it's got sheep and everything. It's very cute. Now, I don't want to be negative, but I'm having trouble. This is a book that I just want to finish for some reason, and yet I'm not. And I've gotten farther in it, like I said last time. I think I've gotten further in this than I have in a lot of these other books that I'm enjoying even more. But I don't know. Does this bode badly for my goal of reading children's classics the next few months? At least one every month or every other month? I don't know. Maybe I lost my chance by not starting it as a youngster. So many people love this book, so that's why I say I feel a little contrary, Like I'm supposed to, as an American female, I'm supposed to love this book. I'm supposed to love Jo and her tomboyish writerliness because it's so relatable. I kind of relate more to Beth, the sickly piano, even though I don't really play piano playing, cat and doll collector, shy and introverted and everything. I think she's kind of it for me, which is sad to say. I like Amy a little bit the further on I go. Meg is just there. She's just kind of dull to me, although I have to say I related to her in ways of like I've never been married, but in that sense of trying something so hard and just not getting it. I almost feel like that's my that's my struggle with the book. Like I'm trying to like this book. I'm trying to think of good reasons to keep going, but it's just one jammy mess, if that makes any sense. And I don't know if there's something sadistic about my personality that I want to just keep going still. Maybe because I still do actually want to see the film, even though I'm not in a rush to, and I just think, oh, I should finish this. And so I think I might continue reading it still. I don't know. And then the other one I've been reading, and it is due at the library tomorrow, and I can't renew it. And so far, I can't renew it, which is crazy because, I think it just probably became popular again because the movie came out, and that was Meg, Jo, Beth, Amy, and The Story of Little Women and Why It Still Matters by Anne Boyd Rue. And I actually like this book better than Little Women itself. I think because, and this happens a lot, sometimes I read biographies of authors and there's some books of theirs that I don't quite care for, but I like their biography. Sometimes I like history of things rather than the things itself. Like I'd probably like the history of the writing of Gone with the Wind and its popularity, but I hated Gone with the Wind, and I didn't read the book. I saw the film. I just really didn't like it. I wonder if there's something about me that... No, it's hard to say, because I'm like, is there something that I just don't like American classics? Because I don't really care for Mark Twain that much, and John Steinbeck, but I grew up loving Little House on the Prairie. And I know there's problematic bits in it now, etc., but I'm talking about in the 80s when I was, as a kid, reading it with my sisters and also watching the program at the same time. Program I can't watch anymore. It's just so depressing. But the books I can still read. I don't really, but I feel like I remember, from what I remember about them, I still enjoy the thought of them. A lot of it, anyway. I used to love Little Town on the Prairie. To me, Little Town on the Prairie and Anne of the Island, as far as my series of books growing up, those are like the two that I like the most. Anyway, I'm going off into a tangent. But I haven't really been obsessed with... I read one book about Laura Ingalls Wilder, sort of. But I haven't been that obsessed about the actual history of Little House on the Prairie, though. But I think that I don't hate all American classics. I just don't think that's what I gravitate toward. And maybe also it's because that's most of what was hoisted? Uh-oh. I sound like someone that I don't want to sound like. It was what we were assigned in school, mostly. I mean, I had Shakespeare, I had a couple other books that were... But we didn't have Jane Austen, we didn't have mostly Dickens, except I think we had Christmas Carol one year. But, like, I mean, most of the British that I knew was some poetry. And, yeah, I mean, I had to come into a lot of British literature on my own, as well as French literature and Russian literature. None of this stuff I knew. I only knew anything of Canada because I read Anne of Green Gables. So we mostly read in English class American classics, mostly. And I think it just bored me at this point. Like, it I don't know. There's something about it. So, and I'm not saying any of this to knock it, because I think a lot of it is really good in quality. And I actually don't think that Little Women is bad. And this is what I'm trying to think. 'Cause sometimes I have a hard time, this sounds weird, but I have a hard time understanding what my emotions are about things. Like, I know if I'm surprised about something, a little bit excited, if I'm really sad about something or really happy, but sometimes if I'm confused, it's exactly what I'm feeling when I'm reading something, or in life in general. There's a word for it, but it's a very long word and I can't remember how to say it. So, I don't know. I want to like it, but this book is interesting because it also gets into like the film adaptations and why certain ones worked and certain ones didn't, and how they changed certain things, and why sometimes it resonated with people during certain times in recent history. So that I like. And again, I don't hate Little Women. I think there's parts of it that I actually do quite like. I don't know. So that's December for me, and apparently into January a little bit because, I'm struggling through Little Women. And if you guys think that I'm out of my mind and should really just give up on Little Women at this point, let me know. Or if you think that, oh, just keep going. You're almost there. I'm up to. I don't want to give away spoilers, but one person is already married, and I mentioned that a little bit already. So I'm a little bit going there. Someone hasn't died yet. And that's as far as we are. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know, that it's kind of a weird wrap up this time because it's a lot of loose ends, but sometimes things aren't perfect. Things are not tidy. So that's life, and that's why I'm wearing a holy sweater today. Not in a holy as you know. So this has been December 2019 wrap up with Catherine, and I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down below of any of the books that I mentioned. If you like hearing me whine about books I liked and didn't like, please subscribe. And have a lovely tea-filled day.